All right, we are live. What is going on, everyone? Swan fans out there. We have a special live stream, a little impromptu surprise live stream for you all this morning. Going to talk here for just a couple of minutes while you guys get fired up and tuned in here. The Swan Squad is a special one. It is made of Bitcoiners. We make it a kind of a basic criteria to sort of get our attention when you're on the resume pile applying to work for Swan, that you are a Bitcoiner. And that is true of everyone working on the Swan team, whether they're full-time or working part-time as a contractor. All of us are Bitcoiners. We believe in Bitcoin. We, as a larger mission, we believe in the company in its particular mission as well. And we have a new hire on the team, a new member of the Swan Squad. And I wanted to kind of make a special point to share this new team member with you all today. And as you can see, as you probably recognize by the Hodlonaut emblem here on the screen, the newest member of the Swan Squad is Gigi, author of 21 Lessons. What's up, Gigi? How's it going, man?
Hey Brady, thanks for having me, and thanks for having me on board at Swan as well. Very exciting times. No better time to, bring Bitcoin to the masses than right now.
Bitcoin was built for this moment, for sure. Let's go back for just a moment here. Back in May of 2019, which seems like a lifetime ago in Bitcoin years, just 15, 16 months ago, though, on the, legacy timeline, as we might call it. You and I met, we were talking, I think it was the Satoshi's treasure thing or something like that kind of brought us together. And we were talking about Bitcoin, and you had just dropped 21 Lessons. At that point, it was on Medium only. It was still a pretty new thing on the scene. And I invited you to come on the podcast, which was also new. The Citizen Bitcoin podcast had just really started doing interviews. And I think it was one of your first Bitcoin interviews. So it's I think, a beautiful sort of circle that we have come around to here. And what a journey it's been to that moment, to publishing 21 Lessons and having that conversation back in May 2019, and to now here in August 2020, starting to work for Swan.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like forever ago, and it's funny how this works. Like Bitcoin time and regular world time, they don't even sync up. Like it's wild. I could have sworn we've known each other for years and years, but you're right.
Right?
It was yeah. Only 1.5 years ago, and it was one of my first Bitcoin interviews. I think I had two before that, and I was just getting warmed up to speak more publicly about Bitcoin. And as you said, I just published my first more serious writings, and eventually that turned into 21lessons.com, and that eventually turned into a book. And another member of Swan guy was kind enough to read that as well, and so it turned itself into an audiobook. And the whole thing, it's really amazing that it took on a life of its own. I published it in a very permissive license, a Creative Commons license, so you can basically do what you want with it. And like I'm just amazed how much the Bitcoin community is giving back as well. And there are now like a dozen translations of 21 Lessons, and some of them in print as well. And it's really amazing. And yeah, so as you said, I was about to say the same thing. It seems like we've come full circle, and now we're working together at Swan, and I hope that I can be useful, and I'll do my best to give back as well, and build up the ecosystem, and do something that I did for the last like 15 or almost 20 years now, which is write code and not words.
A lot of people obviously will know you as a writer in Bitcoin land, and may not know, a lot fewer will know that you have an engineering background, and that's sort of how you have that's been your career, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, can you talk about that? What kind of experience do you have building software and managing software teams, and and that experience you'll be able to bring to the Swan Squad.
Yeah, so I've always been around computers, as I think many Bitcoiners. It's just it has to be in your blood at some level, and it seems that we're still in the very early stages where just most Bitcoiners are nerds. Doesn't matter if you have an engineering background or not, but you know your way around computers, and yeah. Funny story actually. I when I was done with school, I couldn't decide. I always knew I wanted to go to university and also study something technical, but I just couldn't decide. So I flipped a coin, funnily enough, between computer science and physics, and it landed in a way that I had to study computer science. So this is what I did. But I'm still kind of a physicist at heart, and I also enrolled in physics for a couple of years. Never finished the degree though. It was really hard to study two things at once. So if you study computer science, it's you you can say goodbye to most of your leisure time anyway, and doing another thing on the side was quite impossible. And yeah, my academic career lasted for several years, and I did some research and a lot of coding as well. I always tried to actually implement the things that we were working on, and well, that was fun. It was always, nobody really used the software except for other researchers, and so I decided against doing a PhD and actually move to the real world for a change and write code that is actually used by real people in the real world. And that's what I did the last 5 years before before leaving everything in the fiat legacy system behind me and joining the Bitcoin world. And so I went into mobile development and did a little bit of Android development and did a lot of iOS development. So I'm quite comfortable in the Apple ecosystem, even though I'm not an Apple user myself, because even though the walled gardens might be very pretty and gold plated, they're still walled gardens. And that's what I don't like about them.
So are you excited to dive into working with building on Bitcoin and, diving into the actual base layer code and working with it on a production level?
Absolutely. I love it. Like it's something that I was always very interested in, and I did a little bit already here and there, but it's really, really cool to be able to dive deeper and just when you have to actually implement something that is not a pet project or just something to play around with. If it's just something to play around with, you mostly you might get bored with it after a while, and you don't really see through to the end. But if something has to go into production, you obviously have to see through the end and dive a little bit deeper and really truly understand everything deeply. And I've been working on some small things already, and I love it already. It's so great to just get a refresher and actually implement the stuff.
Let's talk about what you're working on first. We kind of went back and forth on what a great first project would be for you to kind of dive into the Swan code base. And I think it's a very appropriate kind of first project that we landed on for you to dive into for a lot of reasons. But yeah, why don't you let us know what you're working on right now as your first foray into the Swan code base?
Yeah, of course. Like I'm still trying to get my feet wet and still trying to figure out how everything fits together. And it's always daunting when you join a new project to see how the bits and pieces fit together. But I'm currently working on something that should be able to implement a plug and play solution, because it's very separate from everything else, and that support for XPubs that you can actually even if you have a hardware wallet, the idea is to just connect it and it will read the XPub and we will auto-generate the addresses for you. So it's an obviously a large improvement in terms of privacy and just Bitcoin best practices, and that's also what I in general want to bring to the table.
Yeah, this has been definitely an often requested feature that we support, since we enable auto withdrawals, which is a very cool feature. One of the limitations there is that unless you go in to your dashboard and change your withdrawal address, every or periodically before your automatic withdrawals, then you're going to be withdrawing to the same address over and over, which obviously is, kind of defeats the purpose of it being automatic. So you have to go into your dashboard and paste in a new address anyway. So we've obviously realized this from the beginning, but now, Gigi's on board, and, Gigi's a Bitcoin maximalist who wants to encourage best practices, just like we do at Swan. And so kind of polishing up the kind of the final touches on top of the automatic withdrawal feature is being able to put in an XPub. We can generate a bunch of addresses for you and automatically rotate them as we trigger an auto withdrawal. So that's going to be pretty killer.
Yeah, it's something that's really fun to do. You have to dive into the details and read through the bips, and just again, it's been a while since I've read programming Bitcoin and the Andreas book, like the more technical ones, and it's really great to dive into that again, just implement it myself and see how all these pieces fit together. It's really awesome. And I can't really tell you yet when it's going to go live. Default software engineer estimation applies. It's going to be live in 2 weeks. So expect XPubs to be working in 2 weeks, as always.
2 weeks. All right, you heard it here. Well, you've written a blog post for Swan Signal. It's at swanbitcoin.com/signal. And if it's not up there yet, it will be very soon, about why you've decided to join Swan and wanted to join Swan. So can you give us a little overview of it here? Why Swan?
Yeah, well, so I joined as an advisor a while ago, and I obviously like what you guys are doing. I think, like, personally, I believe the best decision, my best decision as a Bitcoiner was to go all into Bitcoin. The second best decision was switching to Auto DCA. I think it's still, the benefits of Auto DCA are still not understood by a lot of Bitcoiners, even definitely not by most people. And it's just moving away from trading and trying to time the market and trying to time anything. The peace of mind that you generate, and also the benefits for the ecosystem at large that you generate, it might be the difference between a very rocky transition and a smoother transition on our way to Bitcoinization, because all Auto DCA hodlers set the permanent price floor, and there are just so many benefits to it. I think doing Auto DCA right is such a great thing, and so yeah, Swan, in my opinion, is doing it right. So I'm very, very, very happy to join you and be on board and make this a reality. And I think also the mission that Corey lays out in terms of building a intransient minority that just, well, that's going to change everything. I think it's going to change the way politicians see Bitcoin. It's going to change the narrative completely. If you bring enough people on board, then it just changes things on a global scale. And I think we're at a point now with Bitcoin where this is an important thing to do. And it's not that Bitcoin needs any help. I think it's going to happen anyway. But if it's going to happen a little bit faster and a little bit smoother, then I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen.
I hear that, man. I mean, and obviously I'm aligned in the same way. Just absolutely proud to be a part of this team of Bitcoiners, building a product for Bitcoiners, adhering to best practices, really dedicated to educating about what's going on in the space, about why we need Bitcoin, about how, first of all, how money's broken and how Bitcoin can fix it. These are, I think, as you said, very eloquently there, and as Corey has written about, this is how we can build that intransigent minority. This is the political will in any country, but we're focused here in the United States to build that political will to, demand that Bitcoin become our money and demand that we move to this better monetary operating system that we're building here in an open source way, in a collaborative way. It's a really exciting time. And I think being a part of Swan at this moment in Bitcoin's history is particularly exciting because we're seeing it happen. We're seeing it like roll out before us. Bitcoin was made for this moment, and we are here on the front lines trying to bring it to fruition in the best, most responsible way possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree that Bitcoin was made for this moment, and it also seems that with every cycle, Bitcoiners are being made as well, and it's just so great to join a team of Bitcoiners that I trust. You know, the irony isn't lost on me, but but still, you know, I know you guys for quite a while. As we just mentioned, we've known each other for ages in Bitcoin years, and I obviously know Brandon quite well and Bracky as well, and you know, just also the whole team that you built together, and also in terms of advisors, I feel very comfortable with the people that joined Swan, and it's just amazing to join a group of friends as well. You know, like it's really something to be able to join this group of people and actually build a Bitcoin only product.
We have a question here in Periscope. Will Gigi code the ability for members to make one-time purchases? And there's a little kitty cat there emoji, just for you, the space cat emoji. All right, so Gigi, one-time purchases. We've been talking about this on Twitter, but the answer is coming soon. TM, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We are working on it. We are working on it. And yeah, Gigi, I'm sure will be a part of that code rolling out. You can go to swanbitcoin.com/daily buys, DAILYBUYS, daily buys, and fill out a super short form. It is your email address, your name, and you'll be dropped on our beta list. All right. And we will let you know as soon as that functionality is available for you. So set up a Swan account so you're ready to dive in on daily buys as soon as it's ready. And we are working on it right now. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, nothing to add there. Like the product team will make the decisions when this will roll out. But you know, you heard my estimate. 2 weeks, 2 weeks away. Everything is 2 weeks away.
Yeah. So I mean, why daily buys though? Why are daily buys important, do you think, Gigi, as opposed to like weekly or monthly?
The best argument I heard is that we obviously have to do KYC. So you want to pick your KYC partners wisely. And if you want to smash buy as well, then why not use the service that you use for stacking as well? And so I hear the need for this feature. And you know, smash buying is fun as well sometimes. You know, like I remember at Bitcoin 2019, everyone on the roof smash buying because Matt Odell was just super bullish. And you know, there are reasons to smash buy that are unrelated to price. So
true. Yeah, true. It's an emotional thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So daily buys are coming. You know, that will be a sort of a regularized smash buy for you because you'll be doing it every day no matter what price is doing. And you know, if you're feeling like smashing buy, hey, you got one coming that day anyway. But yes, one-time buys are also in the works. That'll be a little bit further down the road than daily buys. But you know, we do understand that sometimes you want to top up. Sometimes, you know, you may want to you know, if you're just getting in, throw down a big chunk on a single buy to get started, and then you know, set up a dollar cost averaging, a regular recurring purchase plan after that. So yeah, there are reasons that you might want to make a big one-time purchase or an extra one-time purchase to top up that recurring purchase plan. So we're working on that stuff. Yeah. So Gigi, what else would you like to see come to Swan as a user and now a member of the team? You know, what is a thing or two that you might dream up that would improve the service?
I think in general, I still believe that education is one of the most important things. So I really like that you actually have a head of education and take education seriously. And I think I would love to see, just a continual effort on that front, because I feel that the better you understand Bitcoin, the more exposed you get to it automatically. And this is, I think that's true all across the board, also with just basic concerns, also around privacy, around running your own node, stuff like that. I think education can go a very, very long way. And there's just a lot to be done there. I feel that most Bitcoiners are at a different point in that journey. Some might have learned enough to not leave their Bitcoin on Coinbase, for example. If you do self-custody, you're already halfway there, I'd say. And some, are already playing around with Lightning, setting up like the 5th Lightning node and playing around with microtransactions and whatnot. So I believe education is insanely important, and I hope that we will be able to push that front as well. And I still hope, just for everyone listening, I still plan to write quite a bit about Bitcoin. So I'm not done writing. I just, back at coding during the day, writing at night if I can.
Well, you've got a project going on right now, and you are inviting people to join you via Patreon on that project. Do you want to talk about that for just a minute?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I have a second book in me, and for a fact I know that I do, because the outline is already there and I've started working on it. I've started working on that quite a while ago. It was an idea back in my mind, and it wouldn't shut up. So I just had to do it and work towards making it a reality. And I wanted to find a way to release early access exclusive content, and also as a forcing function for myself, get a group of people together that are actually interested in it and are even willing to part with some with their shitcoins, so to speak.
Their fiat shitcoins.
And I thought about that a very long time, and Patreon was what I've chosen because in Bitcoin there is no way to pull payments, so everything would be way more complicated and cumbersome to set up, and you would have to remind people to top up, so to speak. And so I currently try to write for like an hour a day, either in the very early morning or very late at night. As you know, I have a very small daughter,
yes,
like 5 months old now, and so when she goes to sleep, I sit back and take my laptop and try to write for an hour, and it's coming along very nicely. So I'm very happy with the progress. The working title is 21 Ways. I really like it, so I think this will also be the final book title, and it's gonna be 21 chapters again, and it's gonna be about 21 ways to look at Bitcoin. So in essence, it's gonna be similar to 21 lessons, but different in a way as well, and it's going to be way longer. So I want to dive way deeper into it. And the first couple of chapters, for example, are dealing with the basic idea that is Bitcoin and the history that led up to that idea. So the prehistory of Bitcoin. And I obviously also want to cover just the history of Bitcoin so far, and just want to explore all the different ways you can look at Bitcoin. So obviously we had a couple of narrative shifts already, and I think we will continue to have narrative shifts in Bitcoin. And they're just different groups of people that view Bitcoin differently. And it's such a complex phenomenon that you can see it as a social movement, you can see it as a savings technology, you can see it as micropayments, you can see it, you can also see it as a game of sorts that, you can opt in to play this economic game. And I had like probably 50 or 60 of those different ways to look at Bitcoin, and I broke it down to 21. They obviously overlap. So and that's the spiel I'm trying to convey in the book. And so far I'm quite happy, and I expect it to be released in 2021. So that's the goal.
21 ways to look at Bitcoin in 2021. I love it, man. The planets are aligning literally for this work to happen. I am one of the supporters on Patreon, and it's a very reasonable ask that Gigi makes for you to become involved. So it's a lot of fun. You get in the Telegram group. Gigi will be dropping in some PDFs in there from time and again for some feedback, and there's just a good high level of chat going on there. So yeah, this is a really, I think, kind of an underappreciated sort of aspect of Bitcoin content creation that's happening right now. Both you and Robert Breedlove are writing books with feedback in real time from Bitcoiners on Telegram, and both are extremely accessible to join. So just a little contribution every month will get you inside sort of the the inner sanctum of these two writers, and you get to kind of follow along and contribute your thoughts when you can, and it's a cool feeling. It's really special. So both Robert and Gigi, find them on their projects on Patreon. Lots of fun. And speaking of which, it makes me, Corey often says this, especially since you agreed to come on board. We have Jan Pritzker, of course, who's co-founder and CTO at Swan and author of Inventing Bitcoin, and now Gigi on the engineering team, author of 21 Lessons in Writing 21 Ways. We have two engineers on the team that are better writers than our marketing team put together. So, we've got some Bitcoin Renaissance men on the squad now, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Well, thanks for the compliment. I guess it's still really weird to look at myself as a writer, because I started writing very recently, and I don't see myself as a writer, but I heard that many writers don't see themselves as writers. But still, I've worked in software for 15 to almost 20 years now, and never wrote a thing except for technical documentation. And a lot of people really liked my writing and my writing style, and obviously liked the book. So I guess I'm a writer now too. I have to get to grips with that title as well.
You're an author, man. You are a writer of code and of the English language. So speaking of which, you have your book published in several different languages now. Is that correct? Is that right?
Yeah, 21 Lessons is published in print in 3 different languages, English and German, which I did myself with the help of some Bitcoiners. So I'm a native German speaker, so I obviously had the opportunity to take existing German translations and rework them a little bit and publish it myself. And it was also published by the Consensus Network in Finnish. And I got the book. I bought it myself because I was just curious how it turned out. And I can't read a word, so I can't speak to the quality of the translation. But everyone is free to copy it and remix it and translate it and do with it what they want. And someone in Finland did exactly that and produced a printable version, and you can buy that on the Finnish Amazon as well.
It's awesome to see that happening. So what do you think is going to happen in this next 18 months, man? We're gearing up for some crazy times. I mean, it's already, Bitcoin's already crazy in and of itself. 2017 was insane. A lot of us who are still here now came in around then. That was the biggest wave, of new Bitcoiners that has yet to come. And this, next bull run, should it come to pass as we believe it shall, will bring in an even larger wave. And we're seeing, all the signs, the markings on the wall of huge macro investors that have built up their reputations over decades, declaring their positions in Bitcoin, becoming insanely bullish on Twitter about Bitcoin. Younger, macro investors that are really making a name for themselves, like Lynn Alden, who's been on Swan Signal Live talking about her decision to start accumulating Bitcoin. Last week's news about MicroStrategy, the CEO there decided to put in, considerable 60% of their corporate treasury cash holdings, convert that into Bitcoin with a massive, just insanely bullish press release. So all this writing's on the wall that this bull run's gearing up. We're sitting here at $12,000 now, middle of August, just a stone's throw away from an all-time high. What are you imagining could be the height of this particular run? I know, are a particularly hyper bullish Bitcoiner. You put yourself self-styled on par with Bitcoin Tina. So what are you feeling, man, in your Bitcoin gut? Is this escape velocity time?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm kind of scared. It's too perfect of a storm. It has the potential to be absolutely insane. A lot of people have been talking about escape velocity. I don't think it's time yet, but who knows? The world is already crazy. Everything we've seen in the last 6 to 8 months was completely crazy, and I think also just in general, the collapse of the fiat system was possibly accelerated by the coronavirus and everything that happened after that. So again, who knows what's going to happen? It's very interesting to see how 2017 has put Bitcoin on the map for many people, and now a lot of, as you said, a lot of investors and macro people are coming in and are beginning to understand what they're dealing with. And I personally am I hope that Bitcoiners are prepared for what's going to happen, because I think, just purely psychologically speaking, bull markets are as bad in Bitcoin as bear markets are. Like being up 10x, 20x, 30x is as devastating to you psychologically as it is to being down 90% or more.
It's so true.
And a lot of people don't understand it, I think. And also just remember, if I don't believe that this hype cycle we will have escape velocity. I think it will take. I also don't think it will be the next one. I think it will be the one after that. And I hold on to that gut feeling that I had last year. And I tweeted out, like 3 halvings in the next 9 years. And after that, it's going to be done pretty much. Yeah. So we're beginning to see the start of the next cycle. And just remember, like, if this would be escape velocity time, there would be no exit strategy for a Bitcoiner. Like, but by definition, cashing out any percentage wouldn't make sense, because nobody would take your fiat. If this is truly escape velocity and the fiat system collapses completely globally, which I don't think it will, I think we still have, maybe another almost 10 years in it. Who knows? Again, I'm not an expert on that. I listen to people that are way more intelligent and know way more about the macroeconomic situation than I do.
I mean, and even then, who knows, right? It's too complicated of a mess, right? We can't predict it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's also what's so scary. Like, what scares me is that it's always impossible to predict while you're in it, and it's always obvious in hindsight. Like,
right.
I have a book beside me, the When Money Dies, for the nightmare of the Weimar hyperinflation. And in the Weimar Republic, it was the same thing. It started out, nobody really thought that it would end like that, and
right.
It might be the same for the US dollar or for the euro in the next couple of months or years, or maybe we will have another 10 years in us. Who knows? It's definitely crazy. And I just hope that the world is ready, and I hope that Bitcoiners are ready. I know some are, I think I think the longer you've been in Bitcoin, if you haven't suffered from a fatal case of Bitcoin derangement syndrome, you're kind of ready. If you've seen 2 or 3 cycles, then I think you're kind of ready for what is about to come. But I agree with Bitcoin Tina and Preston Pish, for example, and some other people, that I believe that the numbers in this cycle already won't make sense. Like, I think once we hit new all-time highs, Bitcoin has the possibility to go so high that everyone is going to lose their mind. And of course, this is like a self-destructive spiral. Everyone will be FOMOing in and without knowing anything about Bitcoin, and we will see again probably a correction because bad things are going to happen. But who knows? We will see.
Yeah, I mean, it's Bitcoin's still relatively tiny. It's a tiny little asset in the large pool of global money at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just and I remember, like, I've heard the analogy or the sort of the metaphor, the illustration in your mind, like of a tiny balloon, right? A little balloon. So you have this kind of massive air-filled balloon of money, and this little tiny straw leading into the smaller balloon of Bitcoin, and trying to pump all of that in to the smaller balloon will leads to these kind of bursts of bubbles and stuff. And how much can Bitcoin actually take? That I think when you said at first that this sort of scenario that we're in the midst of right now is a little frightening, because it's almost exactly what Bitcoin was built for, to an extreme, right? That we could not have imagined would be the case here in 2021. Last year, like, none of us would have been able to imagine this, right? This kind of negative black swan of the coronavirus pandemic has precipitated all of these, brought forward all of these actions by central banks and governments and stuff that we, assumed would happen at some point in the future, but they're happening much more quickly now. And yeah, it's a bit frightening. So is Bitcoin ready? Are Bitcoiners ready? And if numbers do go to literally, what we would consider insane levels, how will we? How are we gonna? I mean, we're not going to be able to control it as Bitcoiners, but how will you individually react? And how will you? What steps do you take to kind of take care of your family and friends and try to kind of bring them down to earth and help them understand what's going on? I think the answer is, first, get them on board now. While things are still relatively sane, talk to them about what Bitcoin is, talk to them about the potential insanity that's to come, get them stacking on, for instance, Swan Bitcoin, on a regular recurring buy, and have them understand that this is sort of an investment in their future, right? It's not a speculative bet. It's not a speculative play. And, like the MicroStrategy press release that I mentioned earlier, that, a press release is usually a pretty mundane thing, but this document was bullish as heck, and they said that, Bitcoin is a safer way to save your money and capital right now than the dollar. So this is being said by the CEOs in official press releases of a publicly traded very large corporation in the United States. So the insanity could be upon us, and who knows what's going to happen. Let's take a step back and look at 2017, right? I think people who were in Bitcoin in 2012, 2013, when Bitcoin was, in the hundreds of dollars, we're looking at 2017 when Bitcoin was blowing off, between $12,000 and $20,000 as absolutely insane, unthinkably insane, right? So, I mean, what would that number be, now? I mean, $500,000, $1 million. I mean, these numbers are possible to be reached if massive corporations and sovereign states and huge investors are getting in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said actually multiplies this effect. Bitcoin is still very small, but also just the available supply that goes around is very small as well. And we have a strong hodler base. Not many people are selling. Not too much of new supplies coming in. So if the really big money is moving in, the only thing that can go up is the price, and who knows what kind of levels it can reach. So that's definitely scary. And in terms of preparing your family and your loved ones for what is about to come, I think in general, you just have to keep options open, so to speak. Like make sure that you're resilient and as anti-fragile as you can be. Like if you need to, like, I think we're blessed because we can work remotely, so it doesn't really matter too much where you are, and just try to think through the options that you have. Try to think through the scenarios that could happen. And in terms of Bitcoin, I think the time to get prepared is exactly now. It was like a year ago, but the time to prepare is still here. Make sure that your seed phrases are stored correctly. Make sure that if you have a lot of money in Bitcoin, you might want to get a multi-sig setup. The question to ask yourself is, if Bitcoin goes 10x or 20x tomorrow, would you be comfortable with your current setup? And if you aren't, you have to fix it right now. Also, if you're really active in the community and working on Lightning and have a Lightning node and stuff like that, make sure that you have channels open like nobody's business. Just if you still want to use Bitcoin in a year from now, you want to set it up today, because I think the base layer will be so crowded that fees going to be high. And I think that the time where regular people and regular Bitcoiners are going to use the base layer, or can use the base layer for any transaction, is going to come to an end. And it might not be this cycle, it might be the next one, but who knows? It's you have to be ready for these kind of eventualities. And I think that just in general, most services will have to use Lightning. They will be forced to use Lightning over time, but we'll see about that. It's, all of it is, I like to think of it as, as an organic ecosystem, and everything is evolving as we go along. And who knows what's going to happen. It's definitely exciting, and, Bitcoin is never boring.
It never is. It's never boring. It's an amazing privilege to get up and work on Bitcoin every day and work for Bitcoin and just be a part of the scene. It's, taken over my every, spare cycle of my brain for almost 3 years now. And it's not stopping anytime soon. Bitcoin's gravity is strong, as we have talked about in past podcast episodes, Gigi.
Yeah, exactly. And also in terms of helping friends and family, I actually wrote a piece in April, which is called Dear Family, Dear Friends, a letter to all of you who still have no Bitcoin. And I urge everyone who still has family and friends that have no Bitcoin to just send it to them, let them read it, make up their own mind. I just had to get it out there and just get it out of my system, so to speak, because I am at a point now where I'm not shilling Bitcoin anymore. I did this the last couple of years extensively, and if you still didn't get it, I'm not interested in talking to you anymore. And so I basically wrote down what I'm thinking at this moment, and everyone who will be coming to me in this coming hype cycle, in this coming bull run, will get no answers, just this link. And the summary of all of it is you should have started auto DCA stacking yesterday. And that's still what I recommend. And I also recommend if we are in a bull cycle, like there's just no better way. Just see it as a transition to a new world. And this is your way of transitioning easily and peacefully and automatically.
Beautiful, man. I really appreciate your time. I know it's evening where you are, and you've got your baby to get to. So we're gonna wrap it up right here. Gigi, it's been an honor to walk alongside you, as a Bitcoiner on Bitcoin Twitter, and just kind of fighting and educating about Bitcoin alongside you for the last couple of years. And even more excited and honored now to be in the trenches of Swan with you and fighting to build this Bitcoin only industry. So cheers to you.
Likewise, Brady. Thanks for having me, and we'll see each other every day now.
Yeah, I know. That's so exciting. I'm so excited about that.
It's crazy, awesome. Isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for helping us welcome Gigi. You can leave some comments, on the Twitter thread for him. Welcome him to Swan. He has a blog post up at swanbitcoin.com/signal. Share it out and share the love for Gigi. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, man.
Bye-bye.